This is how the US became the world's refuge for dirty money. Now, when South Dakota's economy cratered in the 1980s, then Governor William Janklow, he wanted to attract as much capital to the state as he could. So he decided to take advantage of a recent Supreme Court ruling.
And we had previously introduced legislation and passed legislation, or we're passing legislation, to lift the ceilings on usury so we could free up and get capital in South Dakota.
He realized there was a lot of money to be made in financial deregulation, so his administration set their sights on something else: trusts. Now, trusts are deceptively simple.
Rich people set up their families with trust funds. It's not even that complicated. Basically, a trust fund is just a legal entity, but think about it like a container set up by a grantor so that they can leave assets to someone else, aka the beneficiary. Trusts work well because you assign a trustee, aka a middleman like a law firm or accounting firm or a close family member who's going to enact your wishes exactly how you want.
This gave Janklow an idea. What if South Dakota could use trusts to attract capital? Now, trusts historically expire within a century or decades of the death of the settler, but there was no reason, as Janklow saw it, that trusts ever had to expire. So in 1983, South Dakota repealed the regulation that limited the duration of these secretive trusts.
Banking and trust leaders had pushed legislation at the state level to make South Dakota into this worldwide destination for foreign wealth. And they did this by passing a number of laws that really appeared incremental at the time, but they were huge.
And in doing so, South Dakota introduced a whole new tool to the world, this idea of a perpetual trust. And in South Dakota, trusts are kept entirely secret from the public.
We're talking about people accused of some very bad things who are using this system to hide their wealth, not only potentially from the governments and the taxing authorities in their home countries, but also from the victims in their home countries who might have a claim to some of that money.
All that to say, under current law, no information on South Dakota trusts will ever be shared publicly. And what's kind of the cherry on top is that anyone who's looking to stash their funds there does not actually have to be connected to South Dakota. And if all of this continues, we're gonna see trillions of dollars of untraceable wealth in South Dakota trusts just by the end of this decade alone.
What about terrorists? What about drug traffickers? What about dictators or their associates? Breaching the US financial system. We just don't know.
So thanks to South Dakota and the many more favorable laws across the country in states like Delaware, America now sits at the center of the global offshore economy and has become an ideal place to hoard your untraceable wealth.